This is Devil Dog underscore 88. Devil Dog underscore 88. Let's have that conversation. We are going to go back to the beginning, step by step. In this process, we will discuss how, when, what, where, and why. As to literally, as to the timelines given by the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI. This may help us understand a little bit more of the nuances of the things that are going on. So without further ado, let's have that conversation. Alicia, good morning. Carolina girl, good morning, good morning. Bill, good morning. Celtic Pack, good morning with the little dog emojis. There were some emojis added, so you'll just have to check them out when you can. Celtic Pat is in the house. Lord in my path, good morning. Good to have you. So you all know my background in law enforcement. You all know I'm a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. And that is what I bring to the table. Trying to go back. We're going to go back to the beginning, but we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to go step by step. And wherever we leave off, that's where we're going to go back after that the next day. Lisa Pay says, good morning. Norma, good morning, DD, and beautiful chat. Thank you so much. You guys make it great. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, but I wanted to make sure everything was good. Little Red Bee says, present. So we're going to go back to the beginning, so let's start. We have come to the conclusion, or I have come to the conclusion, and this is my opinion, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. These are just my opinions. These are just my views, but I think for the most part, we're on the same track for the most part, okay? So let's talk about the things that we do know. The Uber driver is going to be more than likely the last person. Hang on a second. The last person to have seen, in my opinion, Nancy Guthrie alive. That's my take. And the reason being is because we have nothing showing that the son-in-law, TC, actually got her home. We don't have anything showing, anything. No visual, no video, no nothing other than just his word. And right now, when we look at the big picture, everyone's word in this whole scenario, none of them, as far as I'm concerned, is credible at this point. There may be a few here and there, but you know what I mean. Good morning, Celtic Pat. Okay, so here we are. So we know that the Uber driver was the last person to see Nancy alive. Okay, and let's just go back to the timeline. So apparently at 5:32 p.m., the Uber driver picked her up and took her home. Okay, or I'm sorry, picked her up and took her to Annie's house. And it's about a 4.5 mile drive, but because of all the turns and all the whatnot, it takes about 10 minutes to get there. So the time that has been given has been Anywhere from 5:45 to 6 o'clock p.m. is when they arrived at Annie's house. Now, it has been reported that she had got out of the vehicle and went into the house. Uber driver left. That's where we're at the beginning. Hyper YouTube gaming potato. Oh, okay. So, good morning, Falls. So we know what time the Uber driver picked her up at her house to the point of when the Uber driver dropped her off at Annie's house, okay? 5:45 to 6 p.m., somewhere in that time frame. Good morning, Norma. At about 6 o'clock to 8:30 is when they had their dinner. They were going there. Nancy was going there to have dinner and to kind of just, have a good time with her family, with her daughter and her son-in-law, and possibly to be possibly to that this is just possibly to go ahead and her birthday was just before that, so maybe it was just a little belated birthday type of deal. Okay, that's a throw-in. All right, trying to keep up with the chat here. We don't know, Bill, at this point, if that was a known driver of the Uber that normally would take her places, or if it was someone that they just called. That we don't know. But I would like to say it's probably the way Uber usually works, unless you have a specific person, it's probably going to be whoever gets the call for the share ride. Unfortunately, we don't know for sure. So that's kind of in limbo. That's that one thing that we're not sure yet. All the good mornings, I'm not reading them as far as in between each other because you guys can see them. April, good morning. Miss Bill's question. What Bill had said was, but the Uber driver would have been a random individual, or do we know if he was random or if they knew the individual? And the answer was, we don't really know if the Uber driver was someone that they already, were used to calling. I would say it's probably whoever's on the list for the next call, because that's how usually Uber works. The next call gets the call. The person that they usually have may be on a different errand or a different pickup or a different order. So in this case, we don't know that. It is possible, but we don't know that. Aaron Williams, thank you so much for your service. You got it, Williams. Thank you, Williamson. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. God bless you. It was my honor to serve. Okay, here we go. Too much caffeine here. Okay, so now we know that at 6 to 8:30 is when they had their dinner, possibly played games. According to them, they played some games, had their dinner, and just had conversation, according to what's been reported. Growski, good morning. Now I wrote all my notes here, so you're just gonna have to bear with me, okay? So at 9:48, it is reported, that Tommaso takes Nancy home at 9:48 and drops her off. The garage door opens. 2 minutes later, it closes, and they have a timestamp. The garage door closes. Tommaso then leaves. That is what's reported. 9:48. Okay. Good deal. Were you following with me so far? Okay. Now, on February the 1st, because that was on um, January the 31st, all this was happening. Now, on February 1st, which is a Sunday, at 1:47 p.m., okay, the garage door opens, okay. Okay, hang on a second. Sunday, February the 1st, Nancy does not show up. Literally, she doesn't show up. We're going to go back just a second here. Give me a second. Okay. We're now at 1:47, okay? 1:47. Melissa, good morning. Jenny, good morning. Good to have you all in. At 1:47 a.m., okay? We've covered up to Tommaso dropping her off and leaving. At 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera, it disconnects. The front doorbell camera disconnects. Okay? And that is important because that's when everything starts going, like stuff starts happening around in that area. Don't forget to keep clicking the likes, send the emojis, do all that good thing. Let's get this algorithms going. At 2:12 a.m., there's a motion detected sensor that the software detects. Literally, it detects motion at 2:12 a.m. But because there's no subscription, they don't have any pictures at that moment from that cam because there's no pictures. There's nothing. There's no subscription. So you can't get anything. Good morning, AZ. Good morning. And by the way, happy hump day, everybody. So because of the fact that there was no subscription, there is no pictures that they can look at on time, real time, at that moment. Okay? So you got at 2:12, the motion detector goes off. The software detects motion. Okay, at 2:12 in the morning, detects motion, but there's nothing to be able to see because there's no subscription. We don't know who is the person that dropped the ball on the subscription. We don't know who was the one that said, we don't need that. We don't know who was in charge of that, if not other than Nancy, who was in charge of that. We have no clue, none whatsoever. Okay? So at this point, literally, the motion detector goes off, but there is no video. At 2:28 a.m., 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker disconnects. It loses connection to Nancy's phone. 2:28 a.m. Now, they say that this could be because the Bluetooth is out of range or the connection was severed. And think about that. Either they're out of range to her phone or the connection is severed, cut, tied, broken. And they're saying that at that 2:28 is probably when she was taken. Follow me so far, everybody. And we're going to go through this whole timeline from the beginning to the end We're going to cover it. We'll stop when it's time to stop, and we'll eventually pick up the very next day when we go live again, and we'll continue. But we're starting like this in the beginning because it's a lot easier to do it like this. All right, Carolina girl, thank you. April in the house, good deal. So now we know that at 2:28, the connection to her pacemaker has disconnected. We know for a fact that it disconnected probably because the length of the distance of the Bluetooth and or the connection was severed. Now, at 1 to 4 a.m., and I'm going to come back to different times, so just bear with me. From 1 o'clock to 4 a.m., neighbors note that their own security cameras went off. They started having issues. They noticed that. And if I'm not mistaken, good morning, Ocean Waves. Here from Dallas, good to have you. So don't forget to keep clicking that likes, everybody. Get that algorithm going. So literally, from 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning, neighbors are finding out that, I'm assuming as they wake up, they're finding out that they had some issues with their cameras, their security cameras. They were going off. In other words, they went offline. Okay? That doesn't happen by coincidence, and that doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? We know whoever the perps were literally had to have done something to go ahead and get that to happen. Okay? That's just a no-brainer. Now they're looking at the investigators. When they're looking at it, they find that there's a tampered utility box. Okay? They now, because we're talking at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when the neighbors knew that there was an issue. Whoever was up, or maybe they woke up in the morning and saw that and said, wow, what's wrong with our camera? Why didn't it get anything? Okay. But as investigators were looking, the utility box was tampered with. We all saw those pictures of the utility box being tampered with. So obviously somebody had to know what the hell they were doing. Melissa, Live Now, JLR, and Jacob gone live are overlooking Colorado. I were made the shining. I don't care about that right now, Melissa, but thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. Now we're going to the next page. Okay, here we go. On Sunday, February the 1st, after Nancy does not literally, okay, literally, on February the 1st, after Nancy doesn't show up for the virtual church that she normally hangs out with her friends to watch church services, at 11 a.m., someone in the church gives literally Annie a call to let her know, hey, your mom wasn't there. Your mom didn't show up. Okay, follow me? Your mom didn't show up. This is at 11 a.m. She gets a call, Annie, and it's from the church people that normally would watch the church online, live with, or recorded with her friends. But they notice she's not there. So they call, worried. They end up calling, literally, Annie. So Annie goes down there. Her and Tommaso go down to the house. Okay. After they show up, they start looking around. At 11:56, it is stated that Annie and family show up, which is Amy and Tommaso, at the house to check it out. At 11:56 is when they show up. They got the call at 11 a.m. 11:56, they show up. At 12:03 is when they call 911. 12:03, they end up calling 911. Think about that. So they arrive at the house. They're, my guess is they're probably calling for their mom. They're not hearing anything. They're not seeing anything. So what ends up happening is literally they start getting worried. They call 911. 1203. The Pima County Sheriff's Office arrives literally from 12. At 12:15, they arrive at the house. Okay. Now, what is not known here that's very crucial is we don't know which door, and they don't specify which door when Annie and Tommaso arrived. They don't know which door they came in. Was it the front door? Was it the back door? They have no clue. Okay? Because they don't say. It's almost like they kept that hush hush. Okay? Princess says, was this stage blood planted in the front? No, yet. We're getting there. It's just a detailed recap, everybody, because there's so much information that you have to go back to the beginning. So we don't know what door did they came in. We don't even know, if they went through the back or the front. We don't know if the doors were locked. Did Annie and Tommaso have a key? Because the front door takes a lock. You have to have a key to unlock that door. There's two doors. The front door and then the other door. And you have to have a key to get in. And there is nothing there. They don't know if they used the key because no one is saying anything. However, they do say that the back doors were open. And the door that they're talking about is open is the one that goes to the kitchen. There's a door that goes to the kitchen. That's the one that's open and held up by planters, okay? It's held up by planters to keep it open. So when they get there, they don't say which way they came in, but they say once they're in, or they notice that the doors are open. And it's the door that goes to the kitchen, which is right next to Nancy's bedroom. Now, there is another door right outside of Nancy's bedroom, but that's not the one that's open. It's the one in the kitchen. Okay? So now they also noted that there's a planter holding the gate that goes in the side by the garage. That also is open, and it's held up by another planter. Makes you wonder what the hell's going on. Okay? So now you have the doors that are open. They don't say, did Annie and Tommaso go to the back and see this? They just say they reported that they noticed that. Okay? Along with that, when they were in the front, and the cops at this point, they don't know who did this, right? They don't know, like, did Nancy open it? Did Nancy leave her door open? It has been reported that Nancy has literally have had her doors open or unlocked. I thought when I had first read it that it may have been that she would keep her door unlocked because a lot of times she would forget. Okay. Princess says, I think it was time to open back door from the garage. But I still don't trust Richard and Robert Lopez guys. Or Luke. Especially with coyotes outside in the backyard. Now, most people who live there would say that is crazy to think that Nancy would leave her doors wide open. I mean, with all the animals and all the different types of animals and snakes, I mean, my God, why would you do something like that? Something could come into your home, right? It's just common sense. Makes no sense that she would do that. But that's how they found it. And it's important because they don't distinguish which way they came in. So that's very important because now you don't know what, how, who. Did they have to come in through the back door? Did they have their key? My suspicions would be that they had their key to get in, right? As an emergency key. They would have to have had a key. But that doesn't mean they did. We're just trying to go with the facts of what we have. Okay? No doubt, wild animals roaming around everywhere. Had to believe she would leave door open at night. Too many wild animals. That's why it doesn't make sense. But that's what Savannah said in her interview with Hoda, that her mom would a lot of times leave her doors unlocked or open. I guess you just have to interpret, what does open mean? Are you meaning literally open the doors are open? Because that's how they were. You know, open the door and put something there? Or would you say open as in it's just unlocked? And there's never been a distinguish in that specific thing. Okay? That's why all of these little things are so important. Now, with that, it's cold. This is during the time when it's very cold at nighttime in Arizona. So it is not logical that she would have left the doors open. Just throwing that out there. No doubt about it. April says, hard to believe that would be the door open at night. Too many wild animals. No doubt. I find that hard to believe as well. Alicia, Savannah in her Hoda interview said, Annie said, doors propped open, which was unusual. Very unusual. Makes no sense, okay? Makes no sense to me. Possible? We can only go with what the information gives us, right? I remember when Alex and JR were near Luke's new coyotes going crazy. Princess, we all have common sense. That's what I always say. Arizona, I'm sorry, we have coyotes, javelinas, bobcats. I put my dog door down at night because we have had uninvited wildlife slither in. Saying, I get it. I get it. No doubt. I'm not sure. Sunshine. At Sunshine, you get rattlesnakes coming in your home. Ouch. Song. Good morning, Song. Good to have you. Bill, we just don't know. That is a fact. We don't know. I would believe unlocked door at the fortress on the front door. Yeah, that would make sense, right? You forget to lock the front door. You may even forget to lock the back door or in the kitchen door. That's probable. I can't imagine that you would lay down in bed, and as you're laying down, you're looking by your feet and you see your door and you're not thinking, oh, did I lock that door? And get up and go lock it, right? Or make sure it's locked. I wonder how big the flower pots are. Were they too heavy for Nancy to pick up? That's a good question. And I'll have to look in that one because that's a damn good question. Were they too heavy for her to pick up? The doors open? She didn't prop the doors open. We don't know who propped the doors open. That's the whole point. We just know that there was flower pot plants of hers that were holding the doors open. And we know that Annie and Tommaso came there first, arrived, and they stated that those doors were wide open. But we don't know. Does it make sense? No, not at all. Is it logical? Hell no, that's not logical. Is it probable? My God, with everything on this case, anything is possible. Lisa says, we were born at night, but not last night. The heater would have to come on with open doors. No doubt, because it's cold. Melissa, we have had one and never again did we leave door up. Makes sense to me. I wouldn't do it. Like and subscribe for DD, and thank you all again for being here, says April. Melissa, AZ, what about your tarantulas and scorpions? Lisa, thank you, April. Princess, let detector test. Nano, the sheriff, take a lie detector test, says Princess. Hey, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Marianne, hi, DD. How you doing, Marianne? Good to have you. Melissa, hey, Marianne, hi. Song says, the flower pot should have been measured and weighed, but of course, Pima would have never done that. So true, Song, so true. You have a lady with a lot of health problems. That is so true. I mean, damn it, man, that is true. Because if Nancy is that frail and those pots are really big, they should have measured the size. You're exactly right. How big they were and how much they weighed. Because that could have told them a lot about, my God, could she have even picked this up? Very good point, Song. No doubt about it. Bill, I really don't double check my doors are locked. And some people don't. But if you living in this area, you are elderly, 84 years old, my God, you would think it'd be common sense, but maybe out there they feel safe. I mean, it's supposed to be the safest place in Tucson, right? The Catalina foothills is supposed to be the safest place. Princess, I believe she did not open the door. She kind of weak, 80-year-old, 84 years old. Arizona, Melissa, we spray for scorpions and black widows, and I don't see them much. Jody, maybe for all we know, A&T propped the doors open. Well, that's a very good point because we don't know. We really don't know. You know, that's not what they said, according to what's been reported, but it is very possible that they did. We don't know. Song, if the pots had been watered recently, they would even be heavier. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I like that, what you're saying, Song, because the reality is that that is a very good damn point. How big were they and how much did they weigh? Could she even have picked them up? That could have spoke volumes right there. And I bet you that was a miss by the Pima County Sheriff's Office. I bet you they didn't even think about that. Very good point. They should fingerprint planters. It wouldn't hurt, right? Somebody had to pick them up. It wouldn't hurt. Melissa, Arizona. Oh heck no, they're furry and big and venomous. Gross. Jody, in my opinion, spot on. Alicia, which tells me that Nancy did not typically prop her door open, maybe unlocked it, but not propped it like that. And that's what I was thinking at first, Alicia, was that she didn't go ahead and necessarily open it, but she could have like literally kept it unlocked. And I could see how that could be misconstrued. But Savannah did say that she would sometimes leave her doors open. I don't understand it. Bloom, good morning from Philadelphia, the brotherly love state. Good to have you. This case doesn't make sense at all. I pray everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Bloom. Appreciate you being here. Bill, listening. Hi, Bloom. Thank you. AZ, I'm not elderly, but we have same security door. It's deadbolt and handled locked. And that's very important. Thank you so much, AZ. Melissa, I just wish they would care more about finding Nancy's song. What potted plants did they, Gardner, leave with a couple of days after she went missing? No clue. Paige, old ladies generally lock their doors at night, no doubt. April, remember the landscaper removing plants from the back. It was covered live. That is true, April. AZ, and we lock both doors, may be safe area, but still, this is Pima County. That is correct. Melissa, I leave my door open during summer for cats to go in and out. Now I try to shut it because they like bring in birds, bunnies, rabbits, and cats. That would be horrible to see in the morning, first thing you wake up. Didi, do you think they could have called Nanos and that's why they aren't releasing the 911 call? I think it's possible. I think with Nanos, it's kind of like a unique situation because I just learned about the man during this whole situation that has occurred. You guys know, the people who live there know Daniels more than any one of us who don't live there. But from what I'm seeing, there definitely doesn't sound. It sounds very nefarious all the way around. And what I mean is that it sounds very like somebody could be doing something to help hinder this case, either intentionally or unintentionally. Norma, what if the doors weren't propped open and T and A say so to cover up themselves? That's a very good point, Norma. Very good point. This is A and T say so, and why did it take so long to call the law? Well, according to the timeline, it really wasn't that long from the time they got there to the time they actually called. And from the time they called to the time when the sheriff's department arrived, it wasn't that long, to be honest, according to the timeline. But still, I see your point. Right? Plus her bad back, bending over and picking them up. No doubt. I just don't see it. Hell, I have a hard time picking up big planters because of my bad back. Norma, I'm with you. Ocean Waves, checking and locking doors is a habit before bedtime, regardless. You would think, Ocean Waves, you would think that would be a common sense thing, at least a safety thing. Thank you for your service, 384. You got it. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kindness and the thoughtfulness of saying that. And just know this, it was my honor to serve, everybody. It was my honor. Pay says, hi, 384 Falls. I think it was a stage seen by whoever, and all evidence right now points to A&T. Very possible, very possible. But going over the beginning to the end is going to show a lot of inconsistencies and things that even look worse than what they look. April, weirdest part, she lived there 50 years and never an issue. Perp targeted her. Probably a fact, no doubt. This was definitely a target, in my opinion. 384, hi Lisa. Jody Cash Patel spoke out on Hannity about nanos. I heard that. I watched that interview. Norma, yes, Ocean Waves. I checked my doors every night before I go to bed. Bill, why can't the FBI give an update? Yes, no, or maybe. I agree. I agree with you, Bill. Why the sheriff department called and report a missing elderly on the highways and all medical facilities immediately? Makes no sense. Ocean Waves, Norma, regardless, they're locked. Elisa, for your information, I see you struggle with my name, laughing my ass off. I think it's funny, but it's like Melissa without the M. Alyssa. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for pointing that out, Alyssa. Appreciate that. Sorry. Bill. Target. Norma. Jody, I watched this. It was very interesting. Why install fancy security systems only not to use it or not to have a subscription, right? That makes no sense. Bill, thank you, Lisa. April, and if she had air conditioning, she would have prop doors open. Alyssa. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, okay? So Annie and family show up to check on her at 11:56. 12:03, they discover that she is missing and they can't find her. So they called 911 at 12:03. 12:15, Pima County Sheriff's arrives to begin the official search of like what's going on, because they probably got the call that it was just literally it's just, hey, we can't find her mom. We don't know where she's at. So it's going to look more like a missing report at the very beginning. It will change, but that's what it's going to be at the beginning. That's how law enforcement works. Ocean Waves, Semper Fi, DD. Thank you, Ocean Waves, Semper Fi. Right back at you. So now, from 12 to 3 o'clock p.m., okay, Annie calls Savannah, okay? Annie calls Savannah from 12, sometime between 12 and 3 p.m. Now, you have to remember, she already spoke to the Pima County Sheriffs who arrived at 12:15. She's already told them, hey, mom's not here. They probably walked around the house. Well, does she take walks? Does she sleepwalk? No, mom doesn't do that. Her health is bad. Could she have gone to the garage? Could she have fell somewhere? No, mom has never done this. I'm just playing a scenario here. So then the officer says, the deputy says, okay. And he goes, let me look. And so he goes and looks. Now, you're probably not getting more than one officer at the very beginning. So you're only going to get enough that one officer can actually check. So he goes around the house, maybe checks the garage, checks everything. She could have stumbled and fell. Nothing, crickets. Okay. At 12:15, at 12 to 3 o'clock p.m., Anna calls Savannah and tells Savannah everything that's going on. Approximately 2 hours later. Okay. Approximately 2 hours later. Then the keynotes are, which way did they come into the house, being Annie and her husband? Were the doors locked when they got there, or were they unlocked? No one ever said anything about that. No one has ever reported that. As far as the cops, the Pima County Sheriff's Office, FBI, were the doors locked when they arrived, or weren't they? They did say that the back doors were held open by Nancy's flower planters. The door to the kitchen was open. The gate was also open, being held by these planters. A lot of this just doesn't make sense, everybody. It just doesn't make sense. Now, we're going to the next one here. Okay. Yeah, long time to call, no doubt. And that was the whole point, about 2 hours. In my opinion, they called nanos. They very well could have. I mean, definitely should have. Lisa says, I'll be out public representing who makes official phone calls to LE for more information. Ocean Waves, Nanos the Perp, Bridget Clark. Good morning, Bridget. Good to have you in here. Click that like, everybody. Send them emojis. Hit them all out so the algorithms can build. Hi, Bridget. Norma. Good morning, Bridget. Elisa. Yep, you got it. No worries. Much love. Thank you, Elisa. Alyssa. They're good friends. Awesome. Okay, so now let's go to the next timeline here. Next step. Upon Annie and Tommaso arriving and entering Nancy's house, which we don't know which way they came in, okay? Got to think about that. We don't know which way they came in. They noticed that Nancy's purse, her phone, her hearing aids, and medications were still inside the house. So obviously they were looking and they were observant, because they're stating they saw her phone, her purse, her hearing aids, and medication still inside the house. That speaks volume, because they are paying attention to what the hell they're seeing. At least that's what the appearance is. They also notice when they get there that the doorbell camera has been removed. And they say that they notice the blood splatter on the ground. Well, you got to remember, they were the first ones there, right? So that's not really like a big thing to think that, oh, well, they couldn't have found it. They didn't find it. They were the first ones there. Thank you for that super chat, $10. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. So that's why it's important, because they believe, literally, okay, when they arrived, they saw the blood. They saw literally the front of the house. They saw the camera that was removed. Think about that. That's crucial. That's important. That's very important. Now, it's not unexpected that you would say, well, they found it. How come the cops didn't see it? Well, because they were the first ones there. So it would make sense. They went up to the door of the front door. Mom, they're calling for their mom. Hey, mom, where you at? Maybe if they didn't have a key, maybe they jiggle the door to see if it's unlocked. But they don't say anything. That's not reported that they went ahead and said, yeah, the doors were unlocked. They only talk about the doors in the back. Okay? Who knows? Maybe they forgot their key at their house. Maybe they didn't bring it. That's not covered, is my point. And that's an important detail. That's not covered, and it's a very important detail. Okay? So now they see that the camera is removed and there's blood splatter in front of the door. So I'm just reading my notes here. At 11:56, when they arrived to check, that's when they noticed it. So they noticed that door, the camera being gone, literally, and the blood splatter at 11:56 is what's been reported. And they would have seen that, right? They would have seen that, no doubt about it. April, thank you for that. Appreciate you, April. Thank you. God bless you. Okay, I'm just reading here. Give me a second. So the only picture that they're able to get is the picture that they were able to pull from Google, which is that still picture of that perp at the front door. Okay. The perp at the front door, that picture and that video they were able to get because apparently the Nest camera, when everything got disconnected, the Nest camera has a literally batteries in it. It will still work, and I think it's because it does something about burning something out in it. Okay, think about that. It's burning something out, so it has batteries, so it's going to keep running, and it's only going to give you like 45 seconds of record time. And apparently, they were able to go into Google and get those images back. Some of the images. Okay. That's how we got that picture, that photo of that perp standing in the front door and that video. Okay. Now, this is when they were notified about, when they were told about the blood, and they were shown obviously about the blood and the camera being gone. At that point, it appeared that that's when they decided, man, we have a problem here. It very well could be something wrong happen here. In other words, this is definitely possibly a crime scene, not just somebody just walked away. Because you have to do all those preliminary things first, right? You have to try to find an answer. You have to try to look for an answer. You have to try to, maybe she sleptwalked or something. Even though the family may say, no, she doesn't do all that, the officers still, the deputy still has to check that. That's just a training, right? It's just a training that they have, that they, before they make this into this big, they have to solve that little integral pieces. Okay. That's just how it works in law enforcement. So that's not unusual. Alyssa, yep, you got it. No worries. Much love. Thank you. Princess, they're good friends. Bridget, Ocean View, good Ocean Ways, good way to cover. That's why restrictions on searches and evidence. Amen. Marianne, Nanos is covering up for his buddy, and Savannah knows what happened. That's why she went back to New York, in my opinion. And you could be very right, Marianne. You could be very right. I mean, that sounds very logical to me. If you go back to Savannah's interview with Hoda, says Falls, she said she has a great night at Carson Daly's, so it gets dark at 5:13 p.m. February the 1st. That is correct. Princess says it's personal, someone close. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Marianne, in my opinion. Bill, thumbs up. Lisa, ocean waves. I've always wondered Nano's height. Lisa Pace, thank you. April. Norma, A and T knew all the details down straight to the blood. That is true. They were the first ones there, in all fairness, but you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Princess, Norma, Princess, poor Nancy, Lisa, with the looking face. As Arizona says, Nanos was so busy with his desert bullcrap reality show, like we needed more negative attention here. Reality is he cruises around in his white Corvette with his big ego, and he's a bully. No nads gets us nowhere. I can see how you can feel that way, no doubt about it. Song says you would call out for mom, you would go around the entire outside of the house and out the back to the desert area and call for mom. You would also walk to the neighbor's house to check. That's all true. Very well said, Song. Very well said. Norma, why did A wait 2 hours to call her sister? Makes no sense. And yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe there was a lot going on at that moment. You know, maybe it was an oversight. Maybe time just runs when you're like, like racking your brains. But it is, you're right. It's 2 hours later, approximately. Song, did Annie and Tommaso walk over to the neighbor's house to talk to them, any of the neighbors? And that's not reported. That's not reported that they ever did. So I'm going to say no, or I don't know, but probably not because that was not reported. But Nanos doesn't seem remorseful for his actions. That's true, Paige. That's true. I think she waited longer, Norma. Very possible. If that was my mom, it'd be kicking and hollering. I'll be in the hospitals, depression. I'd be in Nano's face every day till I got answers. And that's how most people feel. No doubt about it, Princess. Marianne, he is covering it up, in my opinion. Click that like, everybody. Get that algorithm going. Paige says, if they have more photos now, they aren't telling us. That's for sure. That is for sure. Brenda, good morning, Devil Dog and Mods and Pup Family. Hoorah. Good to have you, Brenda. Paige, 8, believe they do have more photos. I do too. I do too. I think they have more photos. I think they were able to get more photos. I just don't understand why did they not go ahead and give us a little bit more as far as maybe pictures or something to go off of, because the people are what's going to help you solve this case. They're the ones that are going to notice that body structure of the perp. They're the ones that are going to notice how he walks, how he bends. They're the ones that they're going to see that and go, oh, shoot, I remember that individual. That's common sense. So why not give as much pictures as you can to the people is beyond me. Where the camera at the garage area? Were the cameras at the garage area? I know they were on top. I know they had 9 to 11 cameras outside all around that house. I mean, it looked like it was well covered from the photos I have seen in the past. It looks like it was literally well angled cameras going in every direction. It was like 9 to 11. And then there was also some inside the house. Growski, people do things they are familiar with, like entering in and out of via garage doors. That's usually what the older people do. They'll come out of the garage door, enter their car, leave, come in, whatever. Because they still feel that safety all the way to the point of where they're getting to enter a vehicle. That's just usually how it works. April, great information. The timeline is crucial to the case. No doubt about it, April. Brenda, Norma, big hugs. Falls, when did they come to the conclusion that was without her shoes? You know, that's a good question because when Savannah said that, the question was asked by a lot of us. How in the hell does she know that? I mean, how does she know that? If she would have elaborated like, hey, Annie said that when she called me, she saw mom's shoes laying there, and that mom, it looked like mom was probably taken in her pajamas because of the fact that her pajamas were missing that she normally wears. If she had said something like that, I could understand why she said that. But here's a problem. Annie doesn't talk anything about it. Savannah doesn't talk anything about it. The only thing is Savannah goes straight to mom was taken from her bed with no shoes. So somewhere there had to be something conveyed, or I don't know what, in all honesty. Something had to be conveyed, or I don't know how they come up with that information. Just saying. Not saying there's any suspicion on Savannah or anything. I'm just saying, how do you get that information? Someone has to make it known, no doubt. Paige, hi, Brenda. Lisa, big hugs. Norma, hugs. Brenda. When Savannah did her interview, she said that her mother was in her pajamas without shoes. That is correct. I heard that same thing. Good morning, everyone. It's Carol. Carol's in the house. If you are new and you are watching, be a subscriber, join, and become or a member. Help everyone in this channel get smarter. No doubt about it. This is all about common sense, everybody. Falls, that is why I don't think Savannah was involved. Good point. Hi, Carol. Carol's in the house. Ocean Way says, how tall is, I'm assuming you're thinking of maybe nanos? What is nanos? I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up, or if somebody can Google it. I'm not sure how tall he is. If you're talking about nanos, hell, I don't. I think Tommaso fits more the height, like 5'10", 5'11", and I would say nanos is probably similar in height. Good morning, Carol. I know, Brenda. No 84-year-old woman is going to wander off without her shoes, no doubt. Carol, hello, Norma. Ocean Ways, how tall is Nanos? I would say probably about 5'11". He might be even closer to 6 foot, but I'll look that up. Or if somebody wants to look it up, that would be helpful. Princess, how can he afford that car? Well, that's a whole different animal there, Princess. Brenda, Falls, I totally agree with you. AZ, how do you come to the conclusion she didn't have shoes unless there's a video? Because I have about 40 pairs of shoes. My kids wouldn't know which shoes I did or didn't have on. Very true, AZ. Now, I will say, Nancy is a creature of habit. That has been known. She is a creature of habit. She likes wearing similar clothes. She likes wearing the same thing. Her feet, she has, issues with her feet where she can't walk really right. So there may be a certain pair of shoes that fit more comfortable than others. And if they see those shoes there at the house, they could have said, oh, mom didn't even take her shoes. Everything's being said in the spare of the moment, but nothing being explained within the context of the information. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I can't believe mom didn't take her shoes. Oh, your mom didn't take her shoes? No. Rather than saying, man, mom's favorite shoes, she wears those everywhere and she didn't even take them. You see what I'm saying? It's very possible that there's a lot of information happening without the integral details because of everything that's happening. I can understand that. But good point. No doubt about it. Princes come up with stories before calling Savannah. Very possible. Then Savannah calls the astronaut before calling Ellie. Well, at least Ellie was already called because you got to remember when she got called by Annie and Annie told her, and then she said, well, did you call the police? And he said, they're here. I already did. They're here. Okay. So she already knew that law enforcement was there. So it couldn't have been to call Mark Kelly because she was going to say, hey, find out from the police what's going on. She already knows the police is out there. Brenda, AZ, I totally agree with you. Falls, I think Savannah knows what happened and she is just waiting for the feds to bust them. That's a very good possibility, everybody, no doubt. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you are watching and you like the video. Do you like this stream? Subscribe. Help everybody become smarter. Bill says they could have messed some DNA by releasing this crime scene too soon. Just saying. That's a fact, Bill. That crime scene should have been, when I first heard that it was released and then 2 days later it was unreleased, that was about the most asinine thing to do in a crime, in any crime. That was so stupid. You know how much evidence could have been compromised and probably was compromised? It's just a no-brainer, everybody. That was a big, major mistake. Probably the biggest mistake of all was that right there. That they didn't even, that they released it 2 days after 2 days, they released the house and then only to come back and go ahead and secure it again. That's about the biggest bonehead I've ever heard of a mistake being made. Faye says, God help us. Brenda Falls, I hope not, but anything is possible. Alyssa, have you seen what Cash Patel said yesterday? Yeah, that he will offered, they offer services and whatnot, and that went ahead and Nano said, no, we don't need your help. And then that was kind of the end of that. Is that what you're talking about? Because, yeah, I watched that one. Falls. Sunshine, I'm going on what Savannah said about the shoes. You can only go with what the information you're given, right? I mean, that's really the only thing you can go. Because it's when you start making up your own narrative, that's where everything starts going out of whack. Faye says, horrible American. Bill, thanks again, lovely Lisa. Brenda, I'm wondering if the FBI is actually investigating Senator Kelly since he was the first one called before 911. I don't think he was the first one called before 911. I can't say that, Brenda, because the timeline shows that 911 was called literally. The timeline shows 911 was called. Hang on a second. 911 was called. Drop a hot dog. 48. Hang on a second. Give me a second, everybody. 911 was called at 911 was called at 12:03. Savannah was called sometime between 12 and 3. So I don't think that, yeah, the 911 was called at 12:03. That's when they reported calling 911. Savannah was called 2 hours later, sometime between 12 and 3. I highly doubt she called Savannah in 3 minutes and then called 911. You know what I mean? Because the 12 to 3 o'clock is when Anna called Savannah. but we know for a fact she called her at 12:03. Yeah, I would say he didn't call before. He didn't call before, but I can see your point, no doubt. Definitely called a while, maybe a couple hours later. Bridget says they should have ran over to Miss Nosy Neighbor Sue Ellen's house and asked, has she seen Nancy? Probably, right, Bridget? No doubt. Bill Love, AZ, Falls. No, I meant how would she have known about questioning you? Well, that's true. Hey, think I better calm down because this case sucks so bad it infuriates me, says Paige. April, Bridget, she did not allow search of camera footage. She told JLR. She did say that. You're talking about Sue Ellen, right? She did say that. And they did say there were some people that didn't want to give up their cameras. Ocean Waves. Anyone know tall us nanos? Hang on. Hey Siri. How tall is Chris Nanos of Pima County Sheriff's Office? Hey Siri. How tall is Chris Nanos of the Pima County Sheriff's Office in Tucson, Arizona? I'm looking. Give me a sec. God, I didn't think it was going to be this damn difficult. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Give me a second. How tall is Chris Nanos, Sheriff of Pima County in Tucson, Arizona? I'm on live.
Oh, sorry.
Unbelievable. How can they not give any height? Yeah, I have no idea. It's not showing me anything about how tall he is. Unreal. No, it's not showing me. Sorry about that. It's not showing me how tall he is. Why the hell wasn't Sue Ellen on patrol that night? Laughing out loud says balls. No doubt, right? Tori said hi. Hi, Tori. Good to have you in here. Bridget, oh yeah, that's right. April, I remember JLR saying that. Lisa, hi, Tori. Good question because I own shitload of shoes. Hey, apologize for the American comment. It was uncalled for. Hey, no problems, no problems. Everyone has opinions. No, you're good. You're good, Paige. Alyssa, Cash said FBI wasn't in the game till 4 days later. He requested images, videos from Google. He said we could have got more door cam footage if Nanas would have had them working on it day one. Yeah, I did hear that. No doubt about it. You're definitely right, Alyssa. Paige says, be right back. Marianne, do you think Sue Ellen can be friends with A? That's why she is acting like she is. Any more, Marianne? It is possible. It is possible that she could be. It's very interesting. That's a good question. That's a damn good question. We'll have to look into that. Bridget, I have a problem with Savannah saying she was in pajamas and no shoes. She wasn't there to know for a fact unless there's a camera recording showing what Nancy was wearing. That's the kicker right there. Was there a camera? Did they have more footage? If they did, why didn't they go ahead and say what she was wearing to let the people know to who to look for? It makes no sense. April, Marianne, yes, I think that and Luke's mom. It's very possible, April. Very possible. Brenda, Bridget, that's what I was thinking. That Nancy had cameras inside the house. She did, according to reports. She did have cameras inside her house as well as 9 to 11 outside from the sides to the top. April just posted my email. If you need to send something to me, if you need to let me know something, there's my email. Thank you, April. Click them likes, everybody. Get that going. Get those emojis sent out there. Ocean Way says Google says no specific information regarding physical height. No doubt. How in the hell do you protect your height? Song, maybe Savannah didn't answer Annie's phone call right away and called her back. That's very possible. Bridget, my mother had a huge collection of shoes, mobility problems, and I couldn't tell you what shoe or slipper would be missing because she was constantly getting new pairs. I had a mom same way, Bridget, no doubt. My kids would have no idea what PJs are or shoes I had on. Laughing out loud. Falls, have a good one, everyone. I have a appointment this morning. Sounds good, Falls. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Much love, Falls. Bill agreed. Have a great day. AZ, now I heard that Senator and Savannah's family are friends. They are. I heard the same thing. And she called Mark because he and Gabby have a place out there, allegedly. So maybe supportive measures. It very well could be supportive measures. I would think that would be the reason. I couldn't imagine anything else. You know, friends do call friends when they're going through problems. Sometimes. Bridget, Brenda, they said she had indoor cameras but claimed they weren't working. Why in the hell would you have indoor cameras and they're not working? Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Bill, remember the glove found at some point? Yes. Did that get ruled out? Yes. I think the DNA came back and it didn't come back on one set of gloves. It didn't come back to anybody or nothing in CODIS. And then I thought there was one that did come back, but I think that was more of a trope than anything. Alyssa, cops called already and made Savannah wanted Mark to make sure the case was pushed. Very possible. Very possible. Am I the only one that feels great anger about the entire situation from beginning to end? No, I don't think so, Lisa. There's a lot of people in here that are angry about what has transpired. Bill, yes, Bridget. No, Lisa, I also. Nancy has been let down. Paige, good observation, Alyssa. Group hug. Ocean waves. Google says no information on height. Yeah, I couldn't find it either when I Googled it. Billboard. Bill says this case is so frustrating, no doubt. I'm the one that has trouble controlling her emotions. Norma. Good morning, Tori. I have myself an attitude adjustment. Norma. Maybe she was maybe there was friction between Sue Ellen and Nancy. That's why I was saying the other day that literally that journal could say a lot or speak a lot to that. That's why that journal was very and is very important. No doubt about it. Marianne, no Lisa Pays. This case is driving me crazy. Marianne, Alyssa, with everything going on with Nano right now, why isn't he being taken off the case by the board or someone else take over? Well, Alyssa, honestly, it's because sheriffs have a lot of power. The only way to get a sheriff out is to either recall him or to literally have some serious criminal charges that they can put on him. And there's a few of them out there, but I don't think he has met that threshold, to be honest. That's why this is a state and local jurisdiction. That's why FBI can't just come in and take it over. That's why Patel couldn't just come in and just take it over from him. Pace says insanity. Gas says good morning from Wyoming. Good to have you, Gas. Welcome in. Norma, good morning, Gas. Paige from Wyoming. April, I understand that, laughing out loud. Gas, how is everyone doing? Doing good, Gas. Everyone is doing good. We're frustrated, Gas, says Paige. Growski, welcome in, Gas. April, same. Alyssa, no, Alyssa, I feel same. Paige, at this point, I just want it to be over. Alyssa, Norma, yes, thank you, DD. You got it, Norma. No doubt about it. Much love, Paige. And Murma says, hi, good to have you, Murma. Glad you're here. Marianne, I'm praying for Savannah. Amen. The Trace I meant. I'm praying I'm wrong. And Myrna, hi, Lisa. So that's those things that we covered, right? Now, some of the things is we don't know which entryway they made entry, right? So think about this. Annie and Tommaso get to the house. They got a call. They get to the house. They're checking on Nancy. They go up to the door, probably yelling at their mom, trying to get her, maybe she's somewhere and she doesn't hear them. So they're screaming for their mom. They notice the blood. They notice the blood droppings. They notice the cameras ripped off, the front door camera. They don't say how they came in, and none of the investigators say how did they walk in. Did they have a key? Did they go in, or did they, not have a key? Forgot their key, and they decided, well, let's go towards the back, and then they find the gate open and held open, and then they find the back doors wide open, but the kitchen doors wide open, held by a flower pot of some sort. As they walk in and go to Nancy's bedroom, they see nothing, They see the pills, the medicines, and all that. They eventually call the sheriff's office. They call 911. I mean, it's just, there's just so much there that you want to ask the question, why in the hell did they not search a lot more, and why did they block off everything? I mean, there's so many things they could have done and they just didn't. This case does make me angry sometimes. Ugh, unbelievable, everybody. Unbelievable. So that's where we're at. Now you go back to, let's talk. This is not in what we're talking about here. Because that's what we're in. That's the end of my notes for that segment. But now let's just have a little conversation. So the idea that literally Tommaso's car was taken. Tommaso and Annie's car was taken and kept for 41 days. They were getting the transmitter, transponder, whatever in the hell it's called, to go ahead and see everywhere that car has been. It took 41 days to do that, when normally to take that transponder, I'm just going to call it transponder. I know that's not the name of it, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. That was taken out. That only should have took about 2 days. Now, they said they had problems with getting it out, and that's why, it took so long, but still, 41 days. Did they really have problems, or was there some more evidence that was found in there? I still believe never left Annie's home that day. The kidnapping all staged. Irma. And it's a very good, well, possibility. Because here's the thing. They say Tommaso went and dropped Annie off, or went and dropped Nancy off. The fact of the matter is there's nothing showing that he dropped her off. There's nothing showing that he was there. And they got God, I wish I could think of what the hell the name was, but that transponder thing that's in the car that tells you everywhere that car has been. Well, they would have known where he was at, right? If he didn't go there, they would know that, because that it's almost like a memory chip that records everywhere you've been in that vehicle. So the idea is that how could they not know? How could they not know where that car was at? They may not be able to tell who was driving, right? But how would they not know where that car was at? How did they not know that car didn't come back to Nancy's, or it did? Because they would have known. By now they know, because if they have that information as far as the information from the vehicle, they got it right in front of them. So why are they keeping it hush hush and not telling the people? Why are they not telling everybody what they found? Now, maybe they're putting up a case together. Maybe they're trying to get everything in place before they make an arrest. That's all probable, and that's possible. And I don't expect them to give us crucial information that could spook the the perpetrators. That could spook them in a bad way. But the idea that they don't know if Tommaso was there, well, they may not know Tommaso was there, but they sure as hell know that the car was there. They know every movements of the car. That's what that thing does. Gas says the family really knows what happens. I believe that. I'm starting to believe that more and more. And I do believe she never left that house. It's very possible. I mean, I can't say I believe that, but it's very possible. The secrecy of this case worse for me, for family, and Nano. Bridget says, I don't usually curse, but I have the temptation to call some of the dumbasses. No doubt. AZ, the FBI issue is that this is known as jurisdiction. Why on earth would he want to turn over what could be a case to make him a hero if he solved it? It as he exists into retirement soon. Big Eagle, that's why. No doubt, Arizona. That's what it appears. Transponder, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate that. The GPS transponder. So that GPS transponder is going to tell you everything where that car has been. Everywhere it went. It's going to tell you even if he went to Nancy's, as he claims he did, it's going to tell you how he went home, the direction and the pattern. So they know the route he took. By now, they know more information than probably, literally, than TC thought they would ever know. They know the movements. They know where the car is. The only thing I think they're probably having problems with is they don't know for sure who was the driver. You follow me? They can't link that driver to the car. They can just say the car was there. Well, who drove it? Don't know. Who drove the car? Well, don't know. Well, Tommaso said he took Nancy home. Okay. Does a transponder show it? It's going to show if he went there that night. It's going to show when that car left. It's going to show everywhere that car's been. So the direction is not an issue. The going to Nancy's is not an issue. Where he went is not an issue. Well, let me rephrase that. Where the car has been is not an issue. They can follow that transponder. No doubt about it. The problem is they can't put somebody in the driver's seat going to all those different places, right? Think about it. You got to be able to put the person in that vehicle, and they can't do that. They can't do that at this point. And maybe that's why they're trying to, turn themselves into pretzels, trying to figure it out. How does it actually fit? How does it go? How does it work? How does it make sense? I think they probably have a good idea who the perp is, at least the main perp. I totally agree and think that they know who they think the perp is. The problem they're having is they can't go ahead, and it seems like they're having a hard time. You got work today?
I'm working, yeah. They offered me 4 hours, so I'm taking it.
So the idea that they can't go ahead and literally put who was driving. I mean, for all they could say is, yeah, somebody borrowed the car. I don't remember who. Think about that. Somebody borrowed the car. I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked to borrow the car. Think about that. And he says, it wasn't me. TC says, it wasn't me. Well, then who was it? It had to be somebody. You follow me? It had to be somebody. Somebody in that car went there if, in fact, they did go there. If they didn't go there, guess what? The FBI knows they didn't go there. Because that transponder would have said that they've been there. So now we have an issue as to the car may have been there, but we don't have a driver for that vehicle. And what you have to complete that case is you got to have literally solid evidence on who is driving that vehicle. And they probably know that. That's what's causing the big hiccup. But I guarantee you, in my opinion, they know where that car's been. All newer cars have these transponders. Norma says, I think they found something more in that car they're not saying. Very possible. Marianne Gass, the family definitely knows, and that's why Savannah went back to New York. It's very, very possible, Marianne. April, over 90 days, and we have no more than from the beginning, but they all ask for our help with nothing from anyone to go on. Makes no sense. Irma, did you watch DAA Juice last night? He talked to this woman off camera, and she showed him some pics after he was visibly upset. No, I didn't, Irma, but I did watch a little bit. I'm not going to say I didn't. I did watch a little bit. I don't remember that part. I'll go ahead and watch that today. Do you know about what time? Was it like at the beginning, the middle, or the end? Because I will watch that. Thank you for letting me know. AZ 20 to 19. I agree, Norma. It's like black box in a plane. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Well said. I don't know why I didn't use that analogy, but good job, AZ. It's like a black box. It tells you everything. It has GPS in it. Some also have sensors that can detect weight distribution in front and back seats, how many times doors are open. It tells you everything. It is exactly, well said. It is exactly, because I read the same thing, like a black box on a plane. It's the movement of the car. Everything. Doors open, doors closing. So they know if that car has been there. They know. If Tommaso is not telling the truth that he took her home, they're going to know that. They're going to know that. Now, they're not going to know if he did or didn't. They're just going to know that car never went there on that day. Because it's going to tell you the days what it went to. It gives you all the timestamps. So they're not going to be able to tell you, no, that car on that day didn't go there. Where did you really go, Tommaso? But maybe they don't want to create this big hoopla because they don't want to scare Tommaso until they're ready to make the hookup. Or they're trying to gather other people who were involved. So when you think about all this stuff and you ask the question, how in the hell did Nanos go ahead and say the family was cleared? Maybe he just didn't know how it works. Maybe he just didn't know about all this information that they could have gathered from this transponder, the GPS, in essence. That would make sense. I would believe that Nanos had no freaking clue what he was talking about because he probably didn't even know that thing existed in those cars. I agree, Norma. It's like the black box. Gas, yes, they said something, and Juice isn't saying what they said. Interesting. Bill, that's either close or actually have very little. Bridget, they beg the public for help and they don't help the public speak to us. No doubt. I agree. I totally agree. It's almost like Savannah had asked the public for their prayers and their help, and yet there's no, oh, what word? Maybe I don't want to say there's no thank you, but there's no sense of appreciation, I guess is the best way to put it. Marianne, wait, what if T just pulled on the driveway for a couple minutes, but Nancy never went in? That's very possible. Very possible, Marianne. Could they have just, used a code to open up the garage door? That's very possible. It is very possible. See, that's the whole point. I think they have their suspect in this case, even though I've read a lot that they don't have a suspect. I bet they have a suspect. I bet they have one or two pieces of the puzzle. They just don't know how could they put them in the vehicle that night that they showed up there. And maybe it's because they don't know. They can't see that they ever showed up there that night. That car never made it to that house that night. So now the question they're asking is, well, you said you went here and dropped off your mother-in-law, but the transponder is saying there's nothing there saying you were there. Think about that. They have to know. It's all right there. There's no mystery to it. It's there. So if Tommaso is telling the truth, okay, then why hasn't the FBI said we ain't cleared nobody either? And now I've been hearing this little tidbit about Nano saying that no one's cleared now. Well, after he already said the whole family was cleared. Gas never saw him that upset. That's right. AZ, do you remember first pressure Nanos? Then it switched to Tommaso was Tommaso only. Did Annie go too? So yeah, it's a good point because they asked him the question. Remember in the press conference, they asked the question. They said the lady kept asking the questions, and then she asked the question, um, did the family go? And he said, yes, the family went. After he first said Tommaso went, then he said the family went. And then they asked him, did the family did they see her inside the house? And he said yes. Well, Tommaso said, according to him, he pulled up, garage door open, she walked out, went into the garage. 2 minutes later, closed the garage. He waited there for about just a tad bit, and then he left. So how do you get that? How do you get that the family went inside? Because the lady asked him. That's not a misspoken word. That's like usually when somebody doesn't tell the truth on something like that, it's because they're not wanting to tell the truth on what really happened. In other words, by him saying literally, yeah, the family seen her inside. Really? How? Because I thought it was only Tommaso that took her. Well, the family took her. Okay. And the family saw her inside the house, is what the lady asked. And he goes, yeah, the family saw her inside the house. How? No one went in the house other than Nancy, supposedly. You follow me? So then it becomes why it's not a misspoken narrative. It is literally a deceptive narrative, something that either he doesn't have a freaking clue, no one told him that answer, or he's just trying to deceive people. I mean, I'm just trying to be nice about it, everybody. He said we will not be surprised who it is. Well, I am fucking surprised already, excuse my language. Bridget, they're having a hard time proving it. They are, because they can't put the body in the car. I think that's the one factor they can't do. You can call in there. Maybe that's why they lower it up. Do you ever think about that? Maybe that's why they lower it up. Because they knew that if they said nothing, and eventually they were able to look at where that car has been, that through the transponder, guess what? Guess what? Annie, did you drive the car? No. Tommaso, did you go to your mom's? No. I played the fifth. I mean, hell, we're seeing everybody in government plead the fifth, aren't we? Play the fifth, play the fifth. Not going to incriminate myself. So now you really got to go out there and you really got to show that that person's in that vehicle. How are you going to do it? So now they're probably, and this is, I'm just throwing my cop thing out here. This probably is why they are trying to bring other pieces of the puzzle to then get them to speak about who is the mastermind, who was the person. Follow me? It's almost like I can't get you in that seat of the car. I can put your car there, but I can't put you in the seat. Because you're saying you're not speaking, you're not saying anything. And then you look at this person here, the daughter, and you say, I can't say it's you because you're not speaking, because you guys lowered up, and they're saying they're not saying anything. Okay, so now it's pretty obvious where we're going with this. Okay, follow me so far. Now we know where we're going with this. I can't put you in the car, and I can't put you in the car, but I can show your car was there. But none of you are claiming you're the one that literally have her there. You're pleading the fifth. Let's just say, for all sake and purposes, these are just opinions and thoughts, but God, they make sense. So then they say, okay, we can't get you, so we're going to find out who else helped you. We're going to find out who else helped you, and we're going to try to locate them. And if we can piece together them, then they're going to talk about you, and they're going to get that plea deal. That makes pretty damn good sense. Matter of fact, that makes damn good sense. What do you think, everybody? They said Annie and Tomato has something to do with it. Marianne, yes, they watched the juice, and I tried to read between the lines. Irma, almost the very beginning. There is the email to literally double dog underscore 88. Gas, neighbor knows more than they're saying. Gotta go. Thanks to all for joining us. Thank you, April. Norma, Gas, you are absolutely right there. Neighbors know something and keeping it hush hush. Groundsky, take care, April. Thank you, April. Ocean Waves, what did Uber driver attest to? That he dropped her off. And then he left. And they were able to look at that transponder. They were able to look at that information. And they were able to verify that. They all got asked to keep quiet. Gas, then disappeared. Marianne, I totally agree with you, Dee Dee. Ocean Waves, Juice needs to release what woman said. Gas, where are all her church people if they call any? That's another big one. I think person Juice should talk to was close friends with Nancy and showed pics of them together, and they know how Annie and Tommaso had money issues, or Nancy shared family info with that friend. That's a very good possibility, Jody. Very well said. Very good possibility. Norma, Dee, this goes back. Why did they give the polygraph at their homes? Exactly, because guess what? their attorney was there, and their attorney is the one that picked out who is going to be the polygrapher. Okay, and because he was going to, the attorney was going to decide they were going to pick the polygrapher. Nanos wasn't going to balk on that. Then they're also going to decide, the polygrapher is going to decide what questions he asks, so he can sway the responses by the questions he chooses to ask. You understand what I'm saying? When you do a polygraph test, right? The polygrapher who's doing the test will ask you a series of questions, and they'll hook you all up, and they'll get you just random questions, and they'll see how your body normally responds, how your heart, everything, and they'll ask you the same body questions, the same questions, and they'll get that how your body functions. Okay, then they'll go ahead and ask you. Well, first they won't put anything on. They'll ask you all these questions and get kind of like how things operate. Then they'll hook you all up, and then they'll ask you to set that line base. Ask you some simple questions. Can you tell me your name? Can you tell me where you live? Can you tell me, do you have a family? Do you have kids? Are you married? When's the last time when were you married? What year? They'll ask you all these questions that you should know the answer to, right? Literally, all these questions that you should know the answer. And in that process, it's reading out how you respond. It's reading your tension, your everything you can imagine. It's reading. It's setting the scale down. It's literally setting the scale as this is his norm. Okay? Now they give you the actual polygraph test, and they ask you those same exact questions, but now you're under the scope. You're actually being tested. And in here, they will throw in questions like, did you have anything to do with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie? Did you know anything about what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Was there anyone else involved? Right? They'll start off with the simple questions like, and this is the polygraphy test, okay? Listen to me. They'll say, when they're doing the test, after they already got your reading on how you normally would respond and the breathing and how you breathe and everything, then they'll go back and they'll ask you the questions, right? And they're going to ask you the similar questions. What is your name? Where do you live? Da 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 da. And then out of the blue, they're going to ask you a question. Did you know anything about what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Your mind's going to go, and right away you're going to think, oh shit. If you did something, you're going to think, you're going to have that pause, right? And your body is going to react differently. And that's how they can tell, like, okay, this guy hesitated on this question. And then they ask you a question again, like, so what year did you guys get married? What did you guys eat for dinner last night? And you're going to be like, oh, yeah, this, and this, and this. And then all of a sudden they're going to go, do you know anyone who had anything to do with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie? Now you're like, damn, because you're not prepared for that question, right? You follow me? And then your body's going to start doing things that it normally doesn't do when they already have a baseline of how your body should react to those questions. They have a baseline. Everything's based on that baseline. And then now they go and ask you some more questions, and then they ask you these questions out of the blue, and you're like, well, that's when they know you're trying to either hide, you're trying to be evasive, you're trying to you're thinking about an answer. They're looking at your eye movements. They're looking at the flickery. They're looking at everything and everything. That's how it works. But here's the kicker. If they did that the first time and the polygrapher is the one who did it that they chose, he's going to ask you basically questions. And then he may not even say, did you have anything to do with Nancy Guthrie? He may say, do you know that Nancy Guthrie went missing? I mean, because it's his questions, right? Well, hell, if you get to select a polygrapher to do a polygraph test, well, fuck, you can ask any question you want. And it can be any softball question you want to ask. And then when you do the test, you ask those same questions. You don't get any knee jerking going on. Follow me? Whereas if it's somebody from law enforcement, That's what they're trying to do, is get that knee jerk. That's the difference. So it's not surprising that, oh yeah, they passed the polygraphy test, the polygraph test. Well, sure, because they picked the polygrapher. They got to pick the guy they wanted to do it. Okay? It's not rocket scientists. And just for whatever it's worth, when I was in law enforcement several times, and the things that I done in law enforcement, to get into law enforcement, you had to take a polygraph test. That's how I know it works. And then while I was in law enforcement, the whole time I was in law enforcement, I know how it worked. I know how they do these things. Just like anybody, probably most, well, not most, but a lot of law enforcement officers, agents know how to do these. They don't know how to give them. You got to be trained to give these tests. Not any officer can say, I'm going to give this polygraphy test, this polygraph test. That's not the case. Okay, you has to be somebody that has many, 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 many hours, literally in that training. That is the only one that's certified to do that type of test. It's a very expensive school to go to. It's very expensive. The department has to invest a lot of money, and they want to make sure you're going to stay with them, because if you are able to give a polygraphy test and you are certified, my God, you have a lot of options to go other places that you want to go to and work. Maybe better places, higher paying places. Reason I say that for is you have to be trained. You can't just go in there and do it. But once you give those and you understand the baselines of how it all works, that's then it becomes pretty simple to understand. Doesn't mean you can give them. You understand what I'm saying? So the idea of what we're talking about now is just that. They said they passed with flying colors on the polygraph test. Well, they got to pick the polygrapher. Why wouldn't they pass? Right? So now, if they was to call them back in and tell them, hey, we want to do another polygraph test, you know what they're going to say? The attorney's going to say, no, we already did one. We're not doing another one. See how that goes? They allowed them to do a polygraph test with the person that they chose to do the polygraphy. The polygrapher is the one who does the polygraph test. They've already did it. So now, if they want to do another one and say, hey, we want to do another polygraph test, you know what they're going to say? Go pound sand. We already did one. And it came out, we had nothing to do with it. So you are not going to do one? No, we already did. And technically they did. So guess what? They just say, no, we're not gonna waste our time. Go find our mom. Go find our mother-in-law. See, when you lawyer up, the attorney's going to tell you, shut up and say nothing. Zero. Wonder why Tommaso's not talking? Because they told him not to. His attorney said, keep your mouth shut. You know why Nancy's not talking? Because they told her, keep your mouth shut. You know why no one's talking in the family? Because their attorney told them, keep your mouth shut. You say nothing. I guarantee you that's exactly why they're not saying nothing. That's why we're not hearing. We're looking at it and we're going, but you asked for our help. You wanted people to come out there and help search, help find Nancy, help find your mom. Well, that's all true. The problem literally is the fact that their attorney is saying, keep your mouth shut. There's no way they're ever going to prove this. And that may be why maybe Savannah left back. Maybe deep down inside, Savannah's going, hey, you want another polygraph test? Let's do one. We'll do another one. Hell, we had nothing to do with it. You provide the polygrapher to do it. And then you have maybe this other fashion of the family going, oh, hell no, we're not doing it. We did it once. Why won't you do it again? It's not a big deal. We passed it once and pass it again. No, we're not doing one. We're just not doing it. Attorney says no, and we're not going to do it. You know, they're not very safe. They're not very accurate. You know, they're sometimes these officers, they lie. You know, when they do this test, you know, you've heard that. You've heard this same soundbite. You've heard it before. Oh no, you know that it's not accurate, and it's not even you can't even use it in court. No. But what it does do is it tells the investigators this person was lying on this question, this person was being untruthful on this question, this person had issues answering this question, and all those questions are probably very crucial to the bottom line. And that is, did you have anything to do with this case? Did you have anything to do with her kidnapping? Did you know about her kidnapping? Did you know about who was involved in the kidnapping? And they're going to keep quiet. Why? Because their attorney's telling it to. So on one hand, you may have Savannah saying, "Oh, okay, let's go ahead. We'll have another polygraph test. We got nothing to hide. It's not our family." Because deep down in her heart, she believes it's not my family that's done this. But now you have a couple other people in the family that are going, "No, I don't think so. We're not going to do one." Well, why not? Picture that. Picture that conversation. Picture the conversation. Savannah is looking at Annie and Tommaso and her brother. And they're telling her, "Hey, Annie, why not just do another lie detector test, another polygraph test? We already passed it. We had nothing to do with mom's taking, right? Why can't we go ahead and just do it?" And then Annie says, "No, because our attorney told us not to." Well, yeah, but why? Why is it a big deal? And this whole time, that question is being asked and asked and asked. Let's just do it. We already passed it. And then Annie and Tommaso says, "No, I don't think so." Maybe even Cameron says, "No, I don't think it's a good idea." Think about that. I don't think it's a good idea. Why? Why, Cam? Why isn't it a good idea? Because Cam probably gets it. Cameron probably gets it. He understands. He probably knows. It wasn't me. I was in freaking Vermont. But he also ain't stupid enough. That's an intelligent man. You don't get to fly F-16s and be kind of dumb. He probably knows, well, I know it's not me. But if they do another one, they're not going to be in control of it. It's probably going to show something different. No, no, Savannah, I don't think it's a good idea for anybody to do anymore. But why? We had nothing to do with it. And then that light bulb clicks in. Oh my God. It's that look, right? Oh my God. Are you kidding me? What, Savannah? Why don't you want to do a polygraph? Because our attorney said no, and I'm not doing one. Tommy's not doing one. Even our brother, Cameron, says it's not good to do one. But Cameron's only saying it because if they go ahead and do one, it's probably going to show some inconsistencies over here. Follow me? So then Cameron says, "Yeah, Savannah," and he doesn't want that to come out in the paper and the name, the Guthrie name, that somebody maybe in the family has something to do with what happened to Nancy. So what does he say? No, no, I don't think it's a good idea, Savannah. But Cam, why? And then the light bulb clicks in again. And Cam, as they were doing the talk to the American people when they wanted her mom back, right? Their mom back. What did he do? He just did this. That's all he did. He didn't smile. Not that I expect him to smile, but he didn't show any facial emotion. He just did like this. Hands crossed. I'm keeping all my secrets to me. The things that I know, I'm not telling nobody. These are gestures that people look for. I'm not saying nothing. They're not telling you that, but they are telling you that without even realizing it. Okay? So now he's sitting. Go look at how he was sitting. He was like this, hands like this. Because I think deep down inside he does know. That's why Annie and Tommaso maybe can't take another lie detector because it may show something different. He's not worried about himself. Like I said, he's in Vermont. He has nothing to do with this. But he probably does know in his thinking they're not going to take my sister's car. They're not going to take Tommy's car, keep it for 41 days, and tell me they're not finding something when it takes the average 2 days to pull the transponder or the GPS out. You follow me? It's common sense, folks. This is where your law enforcement training kicks in when you start using your brain. Not that you guys don't have brains. I'm saying in law enforcement, this is when it kicks in. These are the things you learn. You only learn this because you've been through it. You only learn this because you do it. You only learn this because you've been through cases like this. You only learn it because you've been down this road with this. You don't just learn it because you think you can just learn it. Okay, I got it. No, it only comes with doing it. That's how you learn it. You ask any important law enforcement officer, how do I become a good officer? And they tell you, just keep learning, keep doing it over and over and over. Repetitious is the best teacher, and you're going to be good at what you do. I mean, honestly, does it not make sense to you all? I know I've been talking a long time, but does it not make sense to you all? Because it sure as hell makes sense to me. The attorney, when they lowered up, said, you ain't doing no more. You ain't doing no more interviews. You ain't doing no more uh, um, uh, polygraph tests. You're not doing anything. And the attorney, whoever's representing them, he may know already what they did because they have to tell him so that he can defend them. That's why he's a defender. He can't say nothing because he's their attorney. So what does he say? Not doing it. And so what excuse does Annie and Tommaso have if they don't want to do one? Savannah, our attorney said not to. I know, sis, but we want to know what happened to mom. Savannah, our attorney said not to. You know how they lie. You know how they'll change things up because they can't find the people who did this to mom. I get it, sis, but we didn't do anything wrong. Why don't we do a polygraph again? And then Cam sitting back here like, yeah, Savannah, I don't think it's a good idea. Not because not because he's sad or down. It's because he's not a happy camper because he knows where this is going and he knows how this is going to play out, or he's afraid how it's going to play out, and he doesn't want to take a chance of scarring the family name. As an officer, as an investigator, as someone who has investigated cases, that's what I see. That's exactly what I see. I get it. We did it before. This is Savannah speaking. We did it before. Now, I'm just paraphrasing this conversation. This conversation never happened. I'm just giving you the very logical explanation as to why. But we did it before, sis. We did it before. Tommy, tell her. Let's just do it. Savannah, I just got to go with your sister because, the attorneys are saying don't do this. They can't find the perpetrator. And, they're going to try to pin it on probably one of the family members if we go ahead and do this. So I don't think it's a good idea. And Camera, all this time, who's not a dummy, is sitting back there going, damn it. He doesn't like what he's hearing because he knows it. So what does he do? He stays out of it. He just says, I'm done. When have you heard Camera say anything? When have you heard Camera talk? When have you heard Camera say a word? Hell, we never know where Camera's even at. And what does Savannah do? I'm done. I'm going back to my job. I ain't got to live with this guilt. I ain't got to live with this BS. I'm out of here. She goes back to her family, and Doesn't that make sense to you all? Because I'm telling you what, it sure as hell makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me. So they probably know if T and A's car was at Nancy's that night. Or they probably know that it wasn't at Nancy's that night. Either which way, they know where that car has been. Because they have literally all the evidence from the transponder. You call it whatever, the transmitter, you call it whatever in the hell you want to call it. They have the knowledge from that car. They pulled it all out. And like someone said earlier, they know how many times the door opens. They know how many times it closes. They know how many times it turns off and turns on. They know when it's off, when it's on. There's a timestamp there. It's kind of like an Apple Watch, an Apple phone. Think about it. They know. But what can't they do that you have to do in law enforcement? What is it that they can't do? They can't put this person in the vehicle at this time. Why? Because they can't. They can't. They can't. It could be anybody. I mean, somebody could have. Here's a good one for you. Somebody could have took our car that night, went to our mom's, did this to our mom, and then brought our car back and parked it there. And we were sound asleep. We had no idea that car was gone. How are you going to prove that? Think about it. How are you going to prove it? How are you going to prove that they were in the vehicle? You can't. So then if you can't prove that, what do you have to do? You have to find another angle. Kind of like Google, you got to go to the back door. You got to try to find somebody else that was involved in this. And you got to hit them hard. And you may have to give them, the other people, some immunity to get who you really want to get. Does that make sense? Of course it does. Of course it does. That's the reality, folks. That's the reality on what the hell's happening here. I guarantee you won't see them do another interview more than likely. And you for sure are not going to see another polygraph test. And you know why? Hey, we already took one and we passed it. We're not taking another one just so you can try to find fault and blame us for this. That's not going to happen. And the cops know. The investigators know. And who helped them in doing all this? Well, of course, Nanos did. And you ask, how did Nanos help them? In my opinion, because he probably let them pick their own polygrapher. He had them do their own polygrapher. And is the family wrong to say, no, I'm not doing another polygraph test? Are they wrong? Dude, you said we were innocent. Sheriff cleared us. Now you want to bring us back into the fold? Because you want to pin it on somebody? And because you can't find somebody, you want to pin it on somebody in the family? Not happening. We're not doing it. That could be the rift that you have literally with Savannah saying, after she finally dawned on her, she's saying, F this, I'm out of here. My life is with my husband and my kids. And Camera probably said, F this, I'm out of here. Love you, Annie. You're my sister. I love you, Tommy. You're my brother-in-law. But this is your all's mess. I'm gone. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Of course it does. Of course it does. Nanos can't clear his throat properly. How's he going to clear family? The kids too. Marianne, Ocean View. I'm a juice and it said enough. This message is held for review. 5 or 6 different people took her. Very possible, no doubt about it, guys. Fanflower, hey, Devil Dog, and Puz. BOL. Yes, in Sheriff's words, Bridget Marianne Juice was clearly upset after the lady who pulled up and shared what she did with him. Ocean Wave says, Marion, I'll watch Juice video today. Marion, I now watched him and what he said. I read between the lines on what happened. Ocean Waves, if Juice info is relevant, he needs to report. Ocean Views, otherwise FBI will come after him. AZ, it's strange because shortly after this happened, salon chatter between neighbor gals was, yeah, we go to Putney's and talk. We know who did it. That's why we aren't scared, explains Foothill Behavior. Makes sense to me. Norma, my opinion, Nanos botched it up. Case from day one and strongly believe it's a big cover up. Very possible. And Murrah says, Ocean, he said he would when the woman give permission. Bridget, Ocean Waves, Juice needs to report what he said. Bill, thank you, April. Ocean, does he have to get permission for a top tip? At least, Alyssa, some, if not most, Uber drivers dash cams as well to protect themselves. AZ, and that's a long talk comment above is allegedly. I just heard through a grapevine. Norma, oh, okay, thank you, DD. Norma, yes, I understand. Thank you, DD, for explaining the polygraph. Bill, we need answers before moving on from this case. Gregory, good to have you, Gregory. I request closed caption on this video. Sorry, bud. Wonder if any of them were taken to the station for all of these questions. We would be hauled over there. Myrna, Oceana says he wouldn't tell till she left when she wants him to, but he was still going to answer because it made him so mad and felt it needed to be said. AZ, and if you're in the comfort of your home, all relaxed, soft, plot, take them to station and different outcome guaranteed. Fan, right. Gregory, pay attention to me, please. AZ, if I ever need a poly, can I request my comfy couch in my living room too? Or is that the only if you have mucho dinero? It's the mucho dinero, baby. That's how it works. Fan, bet they never been down there. Marianne, what? Gregory, fan, and play some games. Gregory, do you have a Norma? Yes, Didi, you nailed it all perfectly. Well said, thank you. Alyssa offered 1 million even. Gregory, I request closed caption on this video. I don't know how to do that, Gregory, but I'll figure it out. All right? I'll get people on that. Alyssa, yes, exactly. Marianne, Savannah, and Cameron are totally innocent in my opinion. I tend to agree with that. Fanflower, right, Devil Dog. Marianne, after watching Juice last night, DD is right on. Wow, thank you. Appreciate you. Murrah, Marianne, I agree. Bill, what's your gut feeling? Best theory, or are you unsure also? I have to come back to that one, Bill. I just gave you guys probably the story of what's going to end up panning out, literally. I do believe that. I do believe I just told you exactly how it's going to pan out. That's just my opinion. And being the positions that I have held before, I'm sure I'm pretty damn close. Norma will not believe the Guthries are clear till Nancy is found. Brought her home either way. AZ, Bingo DD, ANT. Gregory, hi guys. Marianne, Lisa Pays, Bill, Marianne, Lisa, bacon or dishes being done. Laughing out loud. Bacon and dishes are being done. Elisa, good call. Elisa, dishes, my guess. No, it's bacon. Norma, Allie, MMQ, Do we have evidence that Cameron Guthrie was in Vermont during the mother's abduction? How did he beat Savannah to Tucson? Well, it appears that he was in Tucson because he has rental properties. We don't know when he got to Tucson, but we do believe he was in Tucson. He does have rental properties. My point is, he's probably back in Vermont right now. That's the whole point. From the first video they put out asking for mom back, Annie seemed to have a smirk on her face. Bill, yes. Marianne, I have to be honest. At first, I really thought it was the family, but then I tried hard not to believe it wasn't. But I'm all over the family right now. Did it help with what I was telling you all? Obviously, it helped. Norma, yes, Marianne, me too. Greg, pay attention to me. I hear you, Greg. Bill, your thoughts are appreciated, DD. Very interesting. Norma, DD, well said, and all this bless you. Thank you, Norma. Bill, yes, Norma. Irma, exactly. Sarah, they know, yes, agree. Alyssa, now bacon is cooking. It is. It is cooking. My God, can you smell it through the live? Sorry, I have very good selective hearing. It is cooking. Yes, you're good. Marianne, 100%. Bill, 100%. This message was held. Norma, Allie, yummy, enjoy. Oh, Bridget, and all Google can hand us is the front porch person. I find that hard to believe. Cameras all around, inside and outside, and the house has nothing for the rest of them. Bill, enjoy your day, DD. Everyone, I'll see you soon. You got it, Bill. Be back at 5 this evening. Make sure you are all here. We will continue the second part, going down the list as to what and how come, back to the beginning, but this time with timelines, and we'll go through that. Yes, I can smell it, laughing out loud. Marianne, after watching Juice last night and what you are saying, A and T need to be questioned again. Yeah, and that's the problem. They'll never do another polygraph. That ship has sailed. Once you do one, no one can look at you again and say, "Oh, you're not willing to do another one." We already did. Well, yeah, but if they're asking you to do another one, why would you hesitate? Well, because they can't find who did it, and now they want to blame us, and that's not going to happen. See, that's how it works, everybody. That's how it works. I'm glad you guys got it. I'm glad it made a lot of sense to you. But this is why experience matters. This is why experience matters. And I hope you share this out to everybody. I hope you let your peeps know, let the people that you follow, let everybody, literally everybody, and make sure it falls and everybody knows to finish watching what we had on this live. Okay? Because I'm telling you, I'm not far off. I'm not far off at all. I am not far off at all, if at all. So glad. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be back at 5. We're going to continue the timeline. Be here at 5. Let's make it happen. Let everybody know, everybody. With all of us together, we all help each other become smarter. And the more people we have, the more people we're able to have that conversation. Thank you all. Marianne, after watching Jews, hey T, you needs to be questioned. Marianne, DD, you are 100% correct. Marianne, you nailed it. Thank you, DD, for a great live stream coverage over Nancy. Bless you. God bless you. And his beautiful chat. See you all. Got it, Norma. Bridget. And if it's true that Nanos and Tommaso are friends, Nanos will not push for T and A being questioned further. No doubt. No doubt. Thank you, DD. You got it, everybody. Simplify. I'm glad. Always remember, it's all about common sense. Everything is about common sense. All right. Make sure you pass this to everybody else who you know, so that they'll be here at 5 o'clock, and hopefully we'll have a better discussion. Well, maybe not better, but we'll continue the discussion, okay? God bless you all. Thank you. Appreciate your attention. Understand, it's all common sense. Everything is common sense. Experience does matter.